get a paint. Let me get a paint drawing. Let me get a paint drawing. Yo.
Yo.
Somebody in chat said that you're on Amber's side on this one. True.
I'm on the unbiased side.
Oh my. Okay, please. That's cooked up.
Okay, please. You want to talk?
Yeah. I just somebody said you want you had the award so unbiased. That's all.
So why do you think I shouldn't be in the position that I'm in?
What are you talking about? Unbiased?
Yeah. Sounds to me like you think I should be on Depp's side, right?
Yeah. I mean, coming at the beginning, we should be. I feel like you shouldn't be anything. You should be whatever you want to be. Based on what you've seen and heard,
that.
right? But I think it's kind of hard not to be biased at this point. Is it even called biased? I mean, you're not even really biased because you're kind of like watching the whole thing from the beginning. You're almost like kind of like you're a jury of your own, right?
So I guess when I say unbiased, my point is I'm trying to look at each piece of evidence objectively. So I'm not going to look at a piece of evidence that Amber's side comes up with and then try to justify how it could make sense from Johnny's side. I feel like that's what I mean by a biased perspective of viewing. Does that make sense?
Okay, so do you think that he cut his own finger or that she cut his finger off?
I didn't get to watch the beginning of this trial where I
really,
think
dude?
They showed the photo or something, right?
Go
ahead. Tell me what happened, or the proof as to why it was one way or the other.
Well. The top of his finger was cut off, but also the underbelly of his index, right? Because from the evidence that was given to the dude who made the examination, he had his hand flat down on a table. Look like a machine if you want to see them. Just like so, like that, right? So it was my understanding that from his expert opinion, it's impossible that the bone at the end would have been crushed, right? At the same time as causing the fingertip to cut off like this, because it was kind of like that, right? So this portion that's red would be cut off, right? Because if you throw the bottle at the finger, what he was saying, I think, unless I misinterpreted this entirely, was that it wouldn't have cut because the finger would be shielded a little bit by the table, and it would have cut like that, right? Because it was pretty deep under like that, But apparently it was a little bit.
What if the knife just went in at an angle?
Okay, he said it is extremely unlikely that it was a knife. He said that it doesn't make sense that it would be a knife because there is the bone is shattered at the end, which is more conclusive with a crushing wound or crushing injury.
So is it a bottle?
Well, he said that you could still, but less probably, you could still see the bone being shattered that way if it was glass. But
who Megalol's witness was this? Johnny's?
No, not a witness. That was a random but extreme experts of
Well, someone had to bring him in.
Yes, it was Amber's professional. It was like a master of the hand of
So, if it was Amber's professional, then he must be testifying in favor of her, and you're in agreement with that testimony?
No, because then it was revealed that they actually said in the testimony that his finger, if you look at the drawing, wasn't like that, but in fact, it was more like this. Right? With the fingers hanging off the table. Right? Right?
Yeah.
Which, if the bottle's coming at an angle, right, makes much more sense since the underbelly was cut off. Because now it's not protected by the by the desk.
Yes.
Right? But the dude was really adamant about the like his entire point was consistent with having his finger on the table. So whenever they brought up the fact that it was off the table, they was kind of like, oh, okay, well, it was just a lack of precision, which I think was a little bit disingenuous, because the main point of the defense is that the laceration or whatever couldn't have happened in at the underside of the finger because of the angle of the finger. So this is like a game changer, but it seemed like he was like downplaying the importance of that being a game changer, which I think was a big problem with his testimony. And I think they kind of got him good on that.
Oh yeah, so you're essentially saying if his finger or his hand was a little bit further off, it would be really hard to slice it in the way that it was, or in the way that he claimed.
No.
It was.
Kind of like the opposite. The way that Amber's team gave the testimony or whatever, or maybe even skewed information, because it seemed like it was kind of skewed. They say it was flat down on the table, when in fact it was off the table. Therefore, the tip wouldn't be I would assume it wouldn't be protected by the desk, right? So
but then, how would you be able to cut further off under if his hand is like hanging over the table?
What do you mean over?
Because you said it grazed the underside of his index.
Yeah. So
how would that work?
What do you mean?
If his hand is like laying over. I mean,
If
you're not looking at me, so
okay,
it's hard to.
if it's laying on the table like this, look at my drawing, okay? On the table, okay? With the fingernail like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, what was cut off is all the way on the under, right? All of this, all of that. So this entire part that I just painted was entirely cut off, the whole thing.
Yes.
All the way to the fingernail. Right?
Sorry, I think I misunderstood when you said the underside of his index. I thought you meant further up as well, not just the tip, because you said the tip and the underside.
Just the tip, just the tip.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought when you explained, you said that there was another piece.
No, that's alright.
That's right. Too. Oh, okay.
But basically, what the other guy said, at least you're looking green. Yeah. He said it was more, from his perspective, whatever he was given. He said with a glass bottle, it would have been impossible. Because if you think about it, if you throw the bottle, how would it go all the way under like that and cut all the way through it? Right? Because you're kind of like shielded by the desk, if that makes sense.
I think I need to see the photo of his finger cut off to know the angle, because to be honest, the red part that you're indicating right now makes it look like his nail stayed on, but I'm pretty
It did
sure
stay on. It did stay on.
His nail stayed on?
Yeah. Like the end.
Were you able to look at the photo on stream, or do I need to?
Well, it showed it by accident, so I mean, I'm probably gonna get banned for it, but still.
Well, FXCC gets banned.
But yeah, so it's almost like it's like chewed under and all the way across inside. So it's like I drew perfectly almost, literally. It's almost a perfect drawing. It's like the 3/4 of the top
Yes, I don't mean
last bone, the 3/4 of it. It's like the whole thing through, but not the nail. So basically, whenever it was,
I get what you're saying. Like, how the heck could the bottom of it be cut off if his hand is flat?
Yeah, because it was all the way through.
Really makes sense.
Like literally, it was like it would have been all the way inside of it, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So whenever it was presented to him that this was actually what happened, or they say it, right?
If I'm being completely honest, the alternative doesn't make a crazy amount of sense either. Because especially if it's not with a knife, how do you cut just the bottom part of a finger? Like cutting upwards with a bottle?
Okay, no. If you throw a bottle at somebody, I don't know if you've ever been injured by glass before in your life. Basically, it's kind of like shrapnel, like when glass breaks. If like a very sharp piece of glass gets hinged on something at pretty decent speeds, right? I mean, it'll chew it right out. So with certain speed, if glass hits something and breaks, and the sharp edge of the glass, like etched, like, is like etching into like skin or something that's fragile, yeah, it'll just cut right through it like paper. That's just kind of how it is. So
Okay.
it does kind of make
Again,
sense.
I'm just saying it's such an off angle, and I haven't watched both sides regarding this that it's hard for me to debate either which way.
Unbiased? Well, I'm not. What? Guys, I'm.
Are you biased towards either side?
Yeah, but when it comes down to expert analysis, though, I was literally on I mean, I approve it. I was literally on the side of the expert saying that this actually makes sense, that it could not happen. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's right. It couldn't cut under all the way through, right? And I was like, this is kind of peculiar. But then when they brought the fact that his finger was off the table, it makes much more sense, because he even said that the bottle came at an angle, right? And the finger is cut at an angle. So if the bottle did come at an angle with the finger off, and even more than that, if it broke off the table, yeah, I mean, this does make sense. I mean, it does. Literally, it does. Even you don't have to be an expert, I think, to know about that. But the problem is still the bone, though. The bone was splintered in like 4 or 5 pieces at the top.
Okay, can we talk about something aside from the finger?
Well, that was an important part. But there's also one other thing.
In my opinion, it's less so about like this finger is such an important part, because I could believe that happened. Like, I wouldn't argue against
It's a big deal.
Amber exhibiting a lot of abusive behavior towards Johnny. But would you say that you really doubt that he was abusive towards her at all?
Well, I think at this point it's almost irrelevant in that particular case, right? I think in this instance, because if right, you cut somebody's finger off, right, and you make up an entire story about how they cut their own finger off, that is an insane amount of, I mean, that displays behaviors that are like kind of fucking far out. That's
I agree,
that's
but a lot
everything.
of the stuff that was described that he could have allegedly done as well is just as abusive.
No, I mean, I agree with that. The problem is the proof
And guys,
and the
okay, hold on.
inconclusive stories,
Just
though.
so chat can stop trolling, it's not that her being abusive is irrelevant. It's that this is a defamation case. So the point is, was he abusive or not? Whether or not they prove that she was abusive, at the end of the day, will not really matter to whether or not he ends up being guilty or not. If she was abusive and he was abusive, he will still lose.
So here's a problem. I think out of like, I would say, what is it, like 3 times or whatever the fuck that I'm aware of, that Johnny's team said that she was abusive, there was a pretty good amount of proof, right? It was like almost like 3 out of 4 times they claimed it. That was like, yeah, I mean, this probably did happen, with like pictures and shit, like the finger, you know. When it came down to her, in my opinion, with how many times she said that she was hit or abused, and how many times that she normally records and documents stuff, it just doesn't line up.
Oh, I agree. I think
She claims like thousands of hits.
Obnoxious to watch that the things that she did document seem to be the more irrelevant things. Like, you're gonna say that he almost broke your nose, or he sent you home bloody, or XYZ, and those aren't gonna be things that you document. But then she'll have like a photo of her with like slightly red cheek. So I agree, objectively speaking, that was really bothersome to see.
Okay,
but again, it doesn't mean that someone being abused wouldn't document those things. You know, it's hard to say.
Oh,
There
wait,
was
what do you mean?
still...
But she did document a lot, though. I mean, she documented things so I mean, quote unquote, thoroughly, that she even documented him fighting the cabinets. I mean, if you see somebody fighting somebody or going crazy, you would think you would film that before filming him in the cabinets.
I think the cabinets thing was seemingly at the end of their relationship, where she maybe wanted to document something, but then kind of got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, but she has a lot of recordings. They have much more recordings. It seems like, in my opinion, she does much worse when she's the one filming, right? And he's doing much better overall when he doesn't even know he's being filmed, which is, I think, to me, fucking alarming. Because imagine if you reverse the roles, where if that's how she acts when she knows she's recording, and she's the one recording, so she knows she's being recorded. That's how she acts. Imagine how she acts when she's not being recorded, or now when she's not recording.
I mean, we've seen.
That is mental.
She is very annoying. But I mean.
So the problem.
Hold on. For starters, yes, a lot of the stuff that we heard in the audio recordings were appalling, both by her, but also by him.
Like what?
Yes, that's. Like what? Like she's talentless. Once her tits sag, she'll have no job. Just shitting on all the roles she's taken. Him shitting on all the roles she's taken. Her shitting on all the roles he's taken. Aquaman. I mean, they both shat on each other. You can say.
I mean, that's just
Amber shat more.
That is toxic back and forth garbage. Like.
Yes, I agree. But the craziest thing is, because this trial is just about, like, the only question is it a false statement for her to say that he abused her? That's really it.
That is not what she claimed at all. She claimed much worse than that. The title of the op-ed. You're denying. You're forgetting a lot of things. The title of the op-ed, sexual violence and shit like that. These are strong words you don't get to back out of the blue. And you know for a fact that the title was so strong and so hardcore that she even denies its existence, and she even denies the fact that she even saw it before. Not only not retweeting, or she literally singular posted a unique tweet with the article in it. That literally, whenever you copy the link has the title in it. So she would have had to scroll over with her cursor over the words sexual violence. So that nobody believes that shit. Nobody buying that shit.
Question: do you not believe her sister's testimony regarding
I don't know what you said.
him pushing her and everything else he's done?
Okay, so the problem I have with that piece of testimony overall, right, is that she claims she was pulled across 2 rooms. She was pummeled multiple times behind the head. That she was like thrown around, punched in the face, punching.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she did.
The sister?
No, her. Amber.
Oh no, I'm talking about the incident with her sister that her sister testified to.
Oh, I didn't get to watch that much of that. What was that about?
So basically, her sister came on and she said that one night Amber and Johnny were having an argument. Not to go into the details, but that they were essentially like at the top of stairs, her and Amber, and Johnny was at the bottom, and that he basically like ran up and then hit the back of her sister. And then Amber claimed that that was the first time that she retaliated and she hit Johnny back.
The first time? How the fuck would she know that?
Amber said, like, beforehand he was always abusive towards me, but that was the first time that I hit him back.
Okay. I mean, there again, this is tough because I do think that testimonies are very important when people under oath or whatever.
Agreed.
But the problem is that at one point, I think it's very important to have at least one piece that sticks super hard, right? And the problem that I have with most of it, what Amber says, that she claims not 1, not even 10, she claims dozens of abuse things and crazy things, yet I don't think we really got any one instance that really stuck with like evidence and whatever. Some of this shit that she said didn't even make sense either. Like my nose broke or something like that. Like do you know how your face reacts?
That was tough because she said there was a doctor that
You know.
She had multiple fractures on her nose, but I don't know if I haven't watched the whole thing. So
I
don't
did
know if
not
there was
see any of that.
Clear evidence of that. She did, like, claim it quite a few times. But I think to say there's absolutely no evidence or proof,
well, there's
is
okay.
a little pushing it.
There's none that is like undeniable beyond the shadow of a doubt.
It's not as strong as, like, I literally took a photo of myself after being severely beat up. And I don't disagree with that. And I agree it makes her look less credible. But then it poses the question, should you never believe a victim of domestic abuse unless they have really, really, really...
I don't think you should believe anybody. Doesn't matter who. Until you go through you go through the what? No. I'm gonna say it again. I don't give a shit.
Sorry. When you said I don't think you should believe anyone, I was like,
anybody.
Oh, like, neither side.
Well, I don't mind this being a blanket then. It's a blanket statement then. I don't think you should believe anybody, ever. Literally, I think you should go through I think you should go through the proceedings. I think you should lay out what happened. There's so many factors to everything. You should never believe anybody.
Well, I think in an ideal world that would be great, but there are plenty of incidents, especially in regards to sexual assault, where people cannot have an abundance of proof.
Well, this take is the reason why we're in this position in the first place. So
I do understand,
advocating for that is dangerous.
Is important,
that is.
But
then you want things to be out in the court of public? What is this? The 1600s? Where you want witch trials?
No, but you are making a blanket statement. Are you saying
that
is only applicable in court, or just in general in life, do not believe people until they have an abundance of proof?
It's pretty black and white. Yeah, I agree. It's sorry. I hate that it's this way. Somehow, not really. But when it comes down to legal claims, we have courts for that, not Twitter. Twitter's the court of the public.
Well, no, yeah. X, I asked you a question. Are you talking about in general or in a court of law? If you're saying in a court of law, then of course I agree. Like, people shouldn't go to jail when someone has no evidence. Because that just allows for way too many false accusations.
Well, but then,
saying, like, in general, don't believe people.
In general, no, I actually believe. I mean, unless it has any sort of legal ramifications, you can believe it whatever you want. Because people believe that the earth is flat, even though we have a lot of shit that it's not flat. You know? So what I'm saying is that in general, it doesn't hurt to believe people. It's like if somebody says, hey man, I just ate a cookie, right? It doesn't hurt or doesn't have any legal ramifications to believe that he ate the cookie or not. It does nothing at all, right? But if somebody says, oh, some guy just punched me in the face, right? Well, now that involves two parties. One that did a crime, one that could go to jail. It's like a whole thing. Then yeah, there are courts for that. It's a legal, now it becomes a legal proceeding.
In a legal proceeding, I agree. We shouldn't believe people.
But then what is that for you then? A general thing then? What is it? What is the general thing?
For example, a friend comes up to me and she's like, hey, this guy abused me or essayed me or whatever, right? I'm not gonna say, hey, can you show me video evidence of him doing that before I believe you? I think it's instances like that where it's important to give people some benefit of the doubt. But obviously,
then you should support them and help them get the help that they need to either seek treatment, help, or go through legal proceedings or whatever, right? And you know, help the victim in that case, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
you do the best you can with the information you're given, but you shouldn't make any legal conclusions, and you shouldn't defend it in public because of that.
Legal conclusions, I agree. You shouldn't come to legal conclusions off of that.
So if you want to keep reservations for that person and not hang out with them, whatever.
Sorry. Listen, I think a lot of your viewers are coming into my chat and saying unbiased ? I don't think that is an unbiased thing. Yeah, like that is so odd. I think my statement is what a normal person's reaction.
Okay.
And even X said in that situation, you don't like discredit someone or disregard them.
Yeah, no, but okay. You shouldn't disregard them. Okay, as a person, okay, you can still understand what they're saying. Keep your reservations for that person, right? That you heard is a bad person or something that did something bad, right? You can still do things that help you and help them, but doesn't fuck the other person over if you can't prove it yet, right? You can still help yourself without attacking anybody. Does that make sense? That's the difference between helping yourself
Yes.
and healing and attacking.
I think we agree on a lot of things. The reason I was trying to make that distinction is because when you, in front of 100,000 people, say, we shouldn't believe people, sometimes some people will take that a little bit further and then think we shouldn't believe victims in general, not just in a court of law, or not just when there's, you know, legal ramifications, etc.
Well, I thought people would understand 100% what I meant is that you shouldn't.
And I think that's fine because, you know, we went over it. But my point is, like, sometimes chat's reaction is just
Also
like.
a recording of when
I mean,
Johnny got his finger
you know when it
pricked
says that's
and
like
Emma saying,
misinformation
"Sorry, she didn't
spreads
mean
8
to."
times faster
They couldn't use the recording because
than
Jerry
actual
Judd
information.
was in it and he had passed away,
Yeah.
so it calls for hearsay. You can find the recording.
Burning a forest down is
This is a very nice
is
drawing.
burning something down is a forest down is much faster, right, and efficient than stopping it, right? Does that make sense? Like, if you said something crazy, right, the repercussions that's gonna have are most of the time going to be irreparable, right? So I think it's kind of like your job as a person, not instantly believe anything you hear, just because you don't want that to happen to anybody, because you want that to happen to you either.
Well, yes, but most people don't behave that way.
Yeah,
Most people behave in the way that makes them feel best, not in like a Gandhi, treat others the way you want to be treated kind of thing.
I mean, but you shouldn't reward them.
Oh, I agree. Anyways, let's go back to the trial, because I think sometimes it sounds like we're arguing when we agree on a lot of things. So, is there anything that makes you feel like potentially, whether in retaliation or otherwise, Johnny could have been abusive towards her?
Yeah, of course, of course. I don't think she would lie about 80 million things at the same time simultaneously. Okay, I'm not gonna be delusional about it. Okay, but
So do you think he could have potentially been abusive?
Yeah, of course. I believe that anybody, that a lot of people can be abusive and.
Well, that's really the same situation I'm in. I'm like, I cannot with certainty say that he wasn't, and that's kind of the point of the trial, right?
No. What if I have a thought in my head and I'm like, wow, this could have potentially happened? I'm still skeptic. I'm still open to new information. I don't want to be locked out of an outcome because I was like, nah, dude. As idea that Johnny is the best person in the world, now I'm locked out of any possible new information that comes in. I don't want to be like that.
Okay, but a lot of people are.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm not gonna do that though. Right? So I keep that as a possibility. That yes, and I also think that people don't understand because everybody on the internet is a fucking cocklord, like forever single person doesn't understand relationship dynamics that are extremely complex and hard as an outsider to even relationship counselors to understand and deconstruct in order. What? It's true though.
It is. No, I agree, especially because, like, no BM, but I feel like a lot of the people with very strong opinions in chat right now, it's like, have you even dated someone for like half a year, bro?
Yeah.
Toxic relationships are especially complicated to, like, truly understand when you're not even in the relationship. Let alone if you've never even experienced one. Clueless, bro. Clueless.
Yeah, it's why I think that it's like it's a little bit disingenuous to people. They're like, oh dude, this would never happen. This is that. Like, I think people are being like, close-minded on both sides, right? I think people are being very, very close-minded, and I think people make conclusions that are drastic about how relationships function and how things work.
I agree. Like, people saying, I've seen a lot of people say like Johnny didn't have. Oh, sorry. Johnny had the power in the relationship and Amber didn't, so she couldn't have been abusive. And I'm like, it doesn't matter how much money or power or fame someone has, they can also be abused by their partner. No amount of money will. Yeah.
I think a great example of that. Just watch a movie about Gucci, right? The guy that had all the power, all the money, all the juice, all the whatever. He was getting smoked by his girlfriend.
Yeah, a little bit. Lady Gaga?
Yeah, she was smoking him the whole time. She was controlling him like crazy.
Did she beat him? She didn't, right?
Well, you don't have to beat somebody to show some control over them.
I agree. I just wasn't sure if that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
like that movie though.
it was kind of dog shit. I only enjoyed the movie because the information and the educational value or historical value of the movie kind of shows the history in an entertaining way. But the movie actually, the movie itself and the acting is complete fucking dog shit.
3.5 years.
I feel like
You're
there's a
the
lot of
goat.
chat hoppers from your end. They're like, why are you laughing? Because he just brought up Gucci the movie. Am I not allowed to laugh?
Yeah, you can laugh.
We're talking about a real situation. He's like, yeah, just like in that movie Gucci. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because she's
my bad. Guilty for laughter at XQC, as I'm sure
because
you
she's
all are
poor.
as well.
Because she was poor and kind of a nobody, and they were rich, famous.
No, yes, I get what you're saying. And she started dating him, and she still kind of emotionally abused him, regardless of whether he was the more rich or powerful one in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, you have as somebody who has more in your favor or more chips in your corner. Yeah, you have a lot more recourse to do abuse on somebody else, right? So financial, right? Right, like you say, I'm gonna cut you off. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Whatever. And then you get things to do your way. Whatever. Yeah. You have a lot more avenues to do it, but it doesn't mean that you do it. And I think these conclusions are absolutely brain dead. Just like this expert we just saw on the stand saying, at 50% of the time with this trait, people do IPV. So it's more likely that he.
I don't think that was brain dead.
That is absolutely fucking stupid. That is okay. Let me take this then. Okay. When do you test subject? Okay. Let's say. Okay. Let me open this up. Here's my analogy. Okay. Let's say I conduct a study. Okay. 0.08%. Okay, is the legal limit of drinking, right?
Yeah.
At 0.2%, let's say, right? I make a study, and I say 50% of the population that drives their car, right, over the span of 30 minutes, will crash their car. That is my conclusion after a study, right? Mm-hmm. So that is my statistical study, and then I go in a trial, right? And then I say, oh, my client was 0.2% inebriated. I see, he was drunk at 0.2%, and he drove his car for 30 minutes. Well, we can just say guilty. My client crashed his car.
Okay, chill. Listen, if there was an accident...
That is exactly what he's saying, though.
Listen, if there was an accident and the jury had to decide whether or not someone was responsible, I'm sure the level of how inebriated you are could play a factor in how likely or unlikely they are to believe you. At the end of the day, I get what you're saying, which is exactly what the lawyer was saying, which is like, just because it's more likely doesn't mean it happened. And it's like, yes, sure. But that's kind of what the point of expert witnesses are. They're supposed to make a jury more educated on factors that could make an outcome more likely or not.
It's why an expert doesn't get caught up on specifics about a question. And if it's a black on white answer, you answer black and white as an expert. You don't get mauled about your ego or some shit, and you end up twisting the answer because you're upset that it makes you, quote unquote, lose or surrender your point. That is so stupid. Okay?
I think he was just trying to maintain what he was initially saying.
Okay. We all,
you know? He just said, yes, that doesn't mean that Johnny did it. It just means that there were certain certain character traits, either of his personality or of his behavior or his drug abuse or drug addiction, that make it more likely for him to have
More likely
been abusive.
is what they were trying to say. I said, okay,
Yeah.
you're right. That is not what the guy was saying though. He was making a medical conclusion and diagnosis of that based on these more likely than not statistics. Literally. That
I don't
I think that's
made a diagnosis.
I think that is exactly what he was doing though. That is exactly what he was doing. He was saying, yeah, it happened because he has all the things and he's over 50%. He's like, yeah, medically it's more probable that it happened. Who said that shit? Like,
I don't think he ever said like
that's what it was getting at. If you didn't catch that, I mean, there's no shot.
No, I mean, of course his point is to talk about what factors could have made it more likely for Johnny to have done that.
Doesn't mean that he did it though.
But he didn't say he surely. Yes, I agree.
That is what he absolutely did point at that. And I mean,
it's his job to point at that, as were all of Johnny's witnesses. It was their job to make Amber look like a narcissistic person and like she had all of these personality issues as well, which they also did.
His job as an expert, right? Would be to let's say you have an analysis about your subject or you're analyzing, is to give an opinion about that. The problem I have with this guy is that he takes a bunch of things that he saw and that he's seen on the media or whatever, and puts all together plus the things that he's been told, and makes literal medical conclusion and diagnoses about something he never even met or had a conversation with. He literally falls under his own definition of Golden Bridge, Golden Gate bullshit. He literally self-reported.
I get what you're saying, but he also said like that's kind of what all expert witnesses are supposed to do.
Well, I mean, I think
do agree. Maybe judging things off of articles without really looking into how credible they are isn't fair.
Well, it's only fair. It's irresponsible and nothing.
I'm not sure.
It is literally unethical. It is black and white unethical, literally by definition.
Then are all expert witnesses unethical?
Well, talk about what you do know, right? I mean, he's getting clowned on, literally. What he observed is, so he's telling him he's getting fed his line, and then it said it was music. Oh, okay. Now they're disintegrating his observation by objectively proving that every point of observation he had was end up being false, literally. And now he falls into the guy who literally is like, he literally looks like a parasocial guy who said, but my streamer said this to my dono and did this in his IRL stream, therefore he's mentally ill. He falls exactly on that category. He's looking like a moron.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree. You know, clickbait articles, this and that, shouldn't be used as evidence or to form an expert opinion. However, it seems that there is an equal likelihood that it was or wasn't music. Because people are saying it wasn't, and some people are saying it was, so...
Huh? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait. You're being clickbaited. You're being clickbaited.
Well, obviously, if you're on Johnny's side, wouldn't you say that?
Well,
but like,
you say you're unbiased. Then you'd say you're on nobody's side.
Well, yes. So my point is not that it was music or wasn't, but it's that they're claiming different things. So who are you to believe?
Well, you as a medical expert of psychiatry need to dismiss that unless you have a one-on-one analysis of a controlled subject to have a good and valid medical conclusion. Otherwise, you are just as good as some random fucker looking at some people on the internet. Right?
I wouldn't equate it to that.
Why not?
If you're an expert in that field, but I get what you're saying. They
So-
did dispel some of the things, like saying, "Oh, he wasn't being fed his lines." Sure,
Okay.
it was music. But then what about the test that he took?
So what you say is that if some guy in chat is a qualified professional of mental health or psychiatry of some high degree, he could come to my house now and give me a prescription for certain pills and certain medication and say, I've seen your streams and your interviews and when you competed, and you are a fucking moron that is a mentally ill, parasocial weirdo and shit like that because he drew a medical conclusion and diagnosis from long range and observations without having an interaction with me directly.
To be fair, I don't think they should be medicating you, but if there is a psychology professional
A diagnosis, if proven
but
correct.
he didn't diagnose him.
Well,
Hold on, let me finish my sentence.
go ahead.
I actually think you're setting yourself up in a bad situation. Streamers, we stream ourselves for hours on end, for days on end. If a psychology professional could observe us for that long, I'm sure they could make some educated guesses on what issues we suffer with.
That is a dangerous conclusion to have for the field of psychology, right? Because then you would start judging pieces of media or pieces of art as how a person really is. What if you were to quantify or analyze Dog Disrespect's behavior? Who is a persona? Who is not? Who acts different on the internet? Who doesn't? Who acts different when in front of an audience or a camera? And who doesn't? What can you tell about these things?
Again. I don't want to argue against Johnny's situation because I don't think he should be diagnosed by a psychology expert through his movies. That is a very, very clear setting where you are... It's just a very clear setting where you're supposed to be acting.
Where?
Streaming, for Dr. Disrespect, he's a persona. For us, it's less so like that. But haven't you seen an equal amount of people deducing similar things from Amber Heard's interviews, from the way she speaks on the stand, from XYZ?
I think a random Twitter's opinion about her behavior isn't comparable to a qualified medical or psychiatric expert going on stand and under oath about on it. I don't think that these are even comparable. They're not even close.
Well, I mean, that's fair, but isn't that what a court of law allows?
What do you mean?
I don't know what is common or not.
Wait, in what sense?
Well, do they not have experts come on and I guess give their opinion from what they've seen of the evidence and maybe the trial?
Well, I think that's what this is all about, right? I think that's what they're trying to prove is that if you bring your witness that has studied and been one-on-one with your subject, right? And ask questions about those findings and their medical, analytical opinion of the field that they're experts in, right? Not their long-range analysis of 4 or 5 pieces of media given by one side of the fucking
But you do recognize that he was also speaking about like some sort of memory test that Johnny Depp did take. So I think that's
3 out of 30, which he could not deem as conclusive because the subject wasn't controlled. He could have been drunk or high, or it could have been a jet lag. Could have been
well, yes, but isn't that still? I feel like that's such a biased response. Like, hey, here is a test that someone takes to judge their cognitive ability or their memory. Yeah, but what if they were high when they took it?
Okay, that's 3 out of 30.
Okay, what if?
That's 3 out of 30. You know that, right? No, I'm not kidding. So he did not see the result of the tests, right? All the 27s, right? All the whatever the fuck the rest is, right?
If an expert witness isn't able to have a one-on-one session with someone, this is all the information that they have. My point is,
then don't talk about it.
You should just. Well, then we shouldn't talk about anything.
Well, that's why they brought doctors of her doctor. She spoke about her. Doctors spoke about her experience. Doctors came on and psychologists came out to speak about her experience and her thoughts and her, because she analyzed her. This guy is as good as some random YouTuber who analyzed Johnny's clips on the internet. He's just as qualified.
To be honest, I'm a little annoyed because I feel like I'm being put in a position to defend this guy whose testimony I only watched half of.
Okay.
So I can't really do that. But I'm curious, do you know whether he asked for a one-on-one? Was he not able to get one?
He asked, so we don't know entirely, but they did ask, but it wasn't court ordered, so they just declined on the advice of counsel.
Well, then if you are Amber's legal team, would you rather have nothing or have this guy come in and give his expert opinion off of what he can, which granted isn't much and isn't really credible, but
well, I think you,
it's like you're arguing with me.
you just
but,
don't
like,
bring him at all. I think you just don't. I mean, you bring him in to talk about what he found about Amber, right? Because that's their side, and kind of move on from that, right? But I think it comes across as incredibly risky and disingenuous to bring a guy who's seen clips and who was literally being disproven on the stand that he's wrong. They literally said that his earpiece could have been music. I mean, who are you or who am I to say that it wasn't music?
Yeah, but who are we to say that it was?
Well, it's a court of law. Yeah, you would have to prove that claim. You can't just make a claim and say, well, it could have not been, lol. Or it could have been. It could have. Lol. It's a probability. That's what the guy's doing. That's why he's getting rolled for.
Well, the onus can be kind of on either.
Well, it's good of law. They have to prove it. They would have to prove that they would have to prove that it wasn't music, right? Yeah, it's guilty. Innocent until proven guilty, right? Right? Innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof falls on them.
I'm tired of speaking.
That's all right.
With this chat reading, and again, like, when I say unbiased, like, I am just watching the trial from the moments that I can watch, which is not all of it, and I just judge individual pieces of evidence. That's it.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, I think the guy did an extremely garbage job, and I think he's actually molding on stand, and I kind of feel bad that they had to go to lunch.
I think he got kind of defensive, but I feel like Johnny's lawyer wasn't doing a great job either.
Well,
he was arguing nuances, which like I kind of understood, because the guy was being defensive and kind of standing his ground. At least I, as a viewer, and I'd assume the jury too, just gets kind of frustrated watching that back and forth.
In my opinion, in a battle of Pepega against Pepega, right?
Yeah.
Right? The guy asking questions wins by default. Because the jury is idiots. It's your average Joe dumb fuck like me. Right? So then, if they're both going full Pepega, the question is so stupid, right? And he doesn't know what the fuck is going on and answers some dog shit. How do you think that makes him look to the jury? He's getting agitated, he's getting mauled, he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. He's answering weird shit to the point where the judge has to step in and say, yo, answer the question, even if it's stupid. It literally makes him look bad in front of the jury.
I think there were moments like that where he looked bad, but there was a lot of moments where the lawyer was like stuttering but also speaking really slowly, and he sounded confused and wasn't delivering his questions properly. So I think they both looked really bad.
That's why I said Pepega against Pepega.
Yeah, I just don't feel like the witness looked that much worse.
I mean, I think he's kind of self-destructing in terms. My problem with him is that there are some points that are very easy to concede that don't make him look bad or weaken his defense, right? Mm-hmm. But he just won't give them up. He just won't just say, yeah, you're right.
I think he did. I mean, with the music earpiece, he said, okay, well, I was told this. And if that's the case, then I retract that or something like that.
Which would alter his conclusion, but then he said it didn't affect it didn't do anything to his conclusion, so it doesn't make sense.
From what I was listening to this morning of his testimony, my main takeaways were him just going over how Johnny Depp's drug addiction could impact his memory and his likelihood to be involved in like domestic abuse or like Wait,
say that one more time.
So my main takeaway from his testimony that I listened to this morning, what I heard was just him talking about Johnny Depp's drug addiction and how that could impact his memory issues, memory loss during those moments, and his likelihood of doing IPV, I think is what it's called. Which is just like, yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, when I hear an expert talk about that, I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense to me.
No, it does make sense, but like I said again, they're all talking about like probabilities.
It's not a for sure this occurred, but it's more so.
Well, I don't think it helps
the likelihood
at
is
all.
higher. I think it helps Amber's side.
You think?
Yeah. For someone to say that he was likely to do it due to his addiction and issues, yeah.
Well,
that's the whole point of him being their witness.
Well, in that case, I mean, her doing drugs doesn't help her either at all. If
True, but drug use is very different from drug addiction and abuse. And I am also like very, very against stigmatizing those with drug addiction or even drug addiction in general. But really going into the nitty gritty of how that can impact someone's behavior, their memory loss, mental disorders, all of those things, I think is helpful information.
Yeah, I mean, I give you an example, but I don't think there's any conclusion to be drawn from that. It's like, I mean, people that are addicted to drugs, I mean, do a lot of other things. I mean, they have financial problems, right? They go in debt. They go homeless. There's suicide.
Yeah,
there's
but
problem
for
with family,
example-
right? But I mean, does that mean
For example, I never knew how much both the drugs that he was taking or the things that he was prescribed or the things he was addicted to could impact his memory loss? And to me, I feel like, you know, it becomes more of a possibility that he perhaps did abuse her but didn't remember those moments or blacked out during those moments. And I think creating like that doubt in a jury's mind is obviously helpful to Amber's side.
Okay, I mean, she was recording a lot, and she said in her testimony, under oath, that she was recording to help him remember. Right? And I remember that. Right? So
Maybe?
so-
yes.
So, I'm sure she has
like
evidence.
the snoring and stuff?
Anything. So I'm sure she has evidence of him. I mean, abusing her, black and white, right? That he doesn't remember. Surely there's some of that, right? That's what I think. That's what I'm waiting for.
I think it would be obviously all of this would be easier if she had very direct evidence of him abusing her.
The problem is that
Yeah.
she's filming like 20 things.
And yeah, the photo evidence she has is really not strong in comparison of the claims that she's making. I agree. But like, that's all I have to say.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's
I'm not not on Amber's side, but I do think people are trying really hard to justify every single thing Johnny has done, and there still is a decent amount of
justifying, like what has he done that you think needs to be justified or people are justifying?
even the texts he sent,
Which one?
like saying that he wants to like burn her to death and then F her corpse and then, you know, those things. But people are like, it's a movie reference. And it's like, Even if it is a movie reference, I think that's a bit of a
Well,
crazy thing to...
I'm gonna be honest. I've been trying to like kind of like dismiss some of his text messages because I think he speaks in poems, like kind of like boomers, right? And it's just kind of like really dumb.
I think in some instances, yeah, he does. And again, it's crazy to me because like I feel like I sound like I'm on Amber's side, but I'm really not. I'm just trying to be like, well, this looks bad for her and this looks bad for him. And that's really it. And even that I feel is because in comparison to how biased the media has gotten around this case, it feels like I'm biased towards her. But I don't really care how this trial ends.
Why
I'm
not?
just enjoying kind of watching. I guess it's more so like I'm not emotionally invested in either her winning or her losing. Is my point. And why not? Just because I have no
I feel like we
personal biases towards either people. Or
I
either
feel
person.
like we should, because it's like a win for everybody.
Why would this be a win for everybody? Either which way.
Because I think if she ended up being wrong and whatever happens, I mean I think this will prevent people from doing dog shit for any reason, attention or whatever, or anything public that is crazy, right? Because now there's a precedent that doing dog shit while you're high roading legitimate movement that help and empower victims, right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
I get what you're saying.
It's a
and I
win
think
for-
that would be true if it was the case where like I really felt like there was absolutely 0% chance that he abused her. If this was like super clearly a fake thing, it would be easier to say that, but at this point it's gotten so like gray and murky, it's a little bit hard to tell.
I know what you mean by that. What's murky? The waters? What's murky?
Yeah, the waters. Like,
Well, I mean,
if it was very clear that she was lying about this and doing this for money or just doing it for attention and whatever, I would understand that her losing would be a win for everyone. Because it's setting the precedent that, like, you can't just go after people for no reason and profit from it, even if what you're saying is a lie. Do I feel like she exaggerates and she does lie sometimes? Likely. But can I say without a benefit of the doubt, can I say without a doubt that he didn't abuse her at all? No, there were just way too many things he said and did, and a couple instances that like witnesses that she's brought on have attested to.
In my opinion, then I'm gonna just fire back with that. Then it's something I'm gonna fire back because I'm not that invested. Like I said last time, I think relationship dynamics are really complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of a bad precedent because if you, let's say, violence is never the option. It shouldn't be any violence ever, right? Mm-hmm. But if,
I agree.
Let's say in a scenario where both parties are equally abusive and crazy and toxic and dog shit, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a bad precedent to possibly run the press like it's like a race.
Yeah, and
first
act
one,
like
to,
you
first
were
the
the
one,
only victim when you
first
were.
to go to the press,
I
first to get
agree with
there,
you.
and I think that's just fucking lame as shit.
No, I actually agree with you. I very much do. Like, if both people were mutually abusive and toxic, I do think it is lame for one person to go to the press and say, I was the victim and that was it. But the thing is, defamation is like a very, very... Like, it just can't be the law to set that precedence because defamation just says, did this person lie? And if two people are abusive towards each other or violent towards each other and one person says, you know, I was abused, technically they were, even if they also did abusing. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, but at that point, then the public opinion matters.
Yeah, but it's not for the courts to decide whether that's like defamation is just not gonna make a difference in that regard. Johnny should have just also publicly done some kind of op-ed and said we were both abusive, blah, blah, blah. Like, that would have been as equal as they really could have gone.
Oh, I mean, okay. I don't know if you've been living under a rock or something like that. Okay, that is not how things go. With all due respect, there's absolutely no. I mean, there's like I genuinely think there's a little bit of an imbalance, especially with stigmas around interpersonal violence, especially in relationships.
I agree, but I don't think
that
a court of law can do much about that because of a defamation case. My point is not disagreeing with you, and I do understand, like, abuse and SA allegations will typically favor, in a court of public opinion, the woman going through it. My point is just regarding the legalities of defamation. And you know what those are, right?
What do you mean?
Defamation is just, did this person lie knowingly when they said this thing?
Yeah, for sure, I know that.
So when Amber said, let's say in this hypothetical, Amber and Johnny were both physically and emotionally abusive towards each other. So when she wrote in an article, I was abused, is she technically lying?
As far as I'm concerned, that's not what happened. What was written is survivor of sexual violence, blah blah, type thing, which is much bigger and a much harsher and like impossible position to defend yourself from. Like once I don't think you understand. Once you end this territory, you already lost.
I think her. Hello.
Even if he wins, he already lost. Wait, hold up. I hope you understand this.
Yeah.
Johnny already lost a long time ago. The second this op-ed was posted live, he already lost. Even let's say that he was right, he already lost. The damage is irreparable. You don't get that time. You don't get that prime. Let's say you when you were prime and your viewers were popping off, right? And you were growing. I told you can't go live for a whole year. Doesn't matter. You already lost. You'll never recover that. Mm-hmm. You'll never be in your prime again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then you just have to decide a point at which legally you deserve some kind of payback for that. And what the courts have decided, defamation is when the person is lying and they know that they're lying.
And then, in addition to that,
again,
Ms.
my
Heard,
point
It started.
was... Oh, okay.
I'll do it in a minute. Sorry for getting off. Sorry, just because it's live again.
That's okay.
You sure? Oh god, I feel bad now. Oh god, Jesus Christ.
you to provide an opinion in this case because you didn't get an opportunity to interview him. Do you think that makes sense?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding of it.
Okay. Now, when counsel for Mr. Depp was reading to you the Goldwater rule, there were two words that he kind of went over pretty quickly, and I'm going to go over them again with you a little bit slower. And that was that the Goldwater rule was that you cannot make an